Washington's most influential players sit down every week with Melinda Henneberger, Roll Call Editor-in-Chief, dissecting the news to go beyond headlines and look ahead to what matters most in Washington and beyond.
Well, thank you for sitting down with us today.
Yes.
And the first question I have is just from a rank and file Republican out in Indiana who is a very strong conservative all his life, and it's my dad.
Okay.
So I talked to him this morning and I
Yes.
said, Dad, I'm going to interview one of the leaders of your party in Congress. What would you most like answered as a Republican? And he said, okay, you know, they said, give us the House and we'll get everything done for you guys.
Right.
And then they said, oh, boo-hoo, we need the Senate too to actually get anything done.
Yes.
And it still didn't happen. And now they're saying, well, we really need the White House to get it done. So why should we believe you this time?
Well, first,
So, Dad, she's answering your question.
Sure. Well, and it's a common question. I think it's important to recognize that the Republicans have had a significant impact over the last few years since we gained the majority in the House in 2010 and moving forward now having a partner in the Senate. Now, was it everything that we had hoped for? No. And I think all of us as elected officials at the end of 2015 really are asking ourselves some of those fundamental questions. But the spending caps that we got in place, the budget changes that we got in place, some entitlement reform that we got in place, it is only because of the Republican majority. Now, clearly, there's more work that needs to be done. And with Speaker Ryan, I see it being a new start. And it has revitalized the Republicans on Capitol Hill. And as we approach this year, it really is our opportunity to be more specific. Speaker Ryan has challenged us that we need to be putting forward the specific policy solutions. We've long talked about the future of healthcare, post the Affordable Care Act, and yet we haven't put forward that specific legislation.
I was going to ask you about that, where that stands.
That we are going to do that. I am excited about us looking at what can we do? And part of it is education, but part of it is really thinking more creatively about how we break that cycle. And then kind of maybe to finally answer your dad's question about the role of the legislative branch and elected officials and the power that belongs with the people through their elected officials. And I'll be the first to admit that we need to restore the decision making with the people and the people's representatives in the House and Senate. And we're seeing more and more decisions being made outside of that, either through the executive branch or the judicial branch.
When you hear that anger from the base, and there is a lot of anger this year on both sides,
right?
What do you make of that? I mean, do you feel they have a point, and what can you do in Congress to address that?
I believe that a lot of the anger is driven by this fear that people think that they're losing representative government, that their elected representatives, those that are closest to the people, most accountable to the people, are not the ones making the decisions. Those are public policy decisions that should be made with elected representatives. And that debate should take place so that people, citizens, are a part of that debate. Or the judicial branch that we see legislating from the bench more and more.
You spoke earlier about Speaker Ryan's agenda, and yet you guys are going to be here so little this year that the expectations of what can actually happen legislatively are kind of low. It seems more like he's saying, let's think about our agenda this year. What do you really think is likely to happen? In terms of lawmaking?
The members are ready to go to work. I don't believe this is going to be a traditional election year here on Capitol Hill. The members are anxious to go to work on the appropriations bills, the budget. I think that has been one of the biggest disappointments was what happened last year with the Senate not passing any of the appropriations bills. That is our fundamental constitutional role. And that's where we exercise the power of the purse. And so getting that done and really presenting a choice to America so that they can see the specific policy solutions that we're advocating when it comes to economic growth and tax reform or healthcare or the poverty, and you're gonna see us putting forward the specific policy solutions so that the citizens understand what they are.
But that sounds more like a political answer. You're going to hear us talking about the policy and trying to get the public on our side in terms of policy. Is it going to actually translate into laws?
You know, we're on a mission to get as many of those bills through the House, through the Senate, and on the president's desk as possible.
In terms of your job, why have you not so far run to move up in leadership in the House?
Well, I've had the honor of serving both as vice chair of the conference and now chair of the conference, and certainly, you know, am looking to be as much of a leader and a team player as I can be on Capitol Hill. I have enjoyed being a part of promoting what we as Republicans we believe are solutions and helping each one of our members individually be successful in their goals and in their districts. I think as much as I can help the individuals accomplish their goals, it helps our entire team be more effective, and that's what's given me some fulfillment here.
When it looked like there were going to be several job openings in leadership earlier, did you consider putting your hand up for one of those?
I did. I spent some time talking with fellow members about running for majority leader. You have to be the right person at the right time, and I believe that right now I feel really good both in being able to represent my district and help serve this conference as chair of the Republican conference.
Is there any barrier to you moving up because of sexism in the conference?
Well,
Definitely there's talk of
I
that.
think, you know, more than anything, I always want to be judged on my results, on what I am bringing to the table as far as the performance, and that's all I ask of my colleagues.
I know one of the bills that you hope to see made law has to do with VA centers.
Yes.
And with improving the scheduling.
Yes.
Of course, there was this national scandal about
Yes.
vets waiting months and months to be able to get the care they need. And what your plan would do is use off-the-rack software, if I understand, to
Right.
schedule instead
Right.
of what they want to do, which is build a whole new system.
Yes.
So I want to ask, are you thinking that is that a better way to go because it's less expensive, or because it would result in them in having a system that works more quickly?
Both.
Okay.
I think it's both. You know, so a year and a half ago, it was yes, the whole country was outraged to hear what had happened at Phoenix. Veterans that had died waiting for appointments. I mean, this is an agency that their whole purpose is to make sure that veterans get the care that they need. And unfortunately, we have given them more money. A year and a half ago, we gave them more money to hire more doctors, hire more mental health providers, and unfortunately, the numbers are only going up. They've increased 50%, the number of veterans that are having to wait more than 30 days to get an appointment.
Is that because they're honestly reporting the numbers now, and they weren't as honest in the reporting earlier?
Bottom line, we have a problem. And yes, and there are solutions that are available, off-the-shelf technology that's available that is used every day in the doctor's offices right now, all across this country. And the VA has not been receptive to using it. And so I've partnered with Seth Moulton. He's a Democrat out of Massachusetts. We've joined together on this legislation to require the VA to use this off-the-shelf technology that's available, and it's just common sense.
I saw that one of your many rivals for your seat in this next election used to work in a VA,
Yes.
Democrat who's an Army vet and was a physician's assistant
Yes.
in a VA hospital. Do you think that's going to be a big issue in your race?
You know, through the years, the needs of our veterans has always been one of my top priorities. And I think about it, it is not It's not a Republican, Democrat, independent issue. It's really the way that we as a country show our gratitude to those who have served.
So since you're from Washington State, a state that has legalized marijuana now, I'm just curious what's your perception of how that has changed life in Washington State, if it has? And do you see that as related at all to the heroin epidemic that's such a big issue right now?
You know, we'll see. We'll see how the connection is as we move forward. I haven't heard about it yet in Washington State, but certainly there is a concern about the underground economy and activity that is related to marijuana in Washington State. Now that it is recreational marijuana is legal, but it's really prompted an even increased underground economy for marijuana use and the transport of marijuana. And my fear would be how that leads to other drugs, because marijuana often is the entry to other types of substance abuse.
If there was just one thing that you could accomplish here this year, what would it be?
Well, given where we find ourselves, I mean, I've always said I want the balanced budget amendment, but I don't think it will happen this year. I would really like to see us do something on 21st century cures. And the president talked about the commitment to curing cancer in the State of the Union. In the House, we passed a package of legislation last year, bipartisan, focused on curing diseases, on new therapies, on new breakthroughs, welcoming health innovation, medical breakthroughs. And it's a great package, and if I could do one thing, I think that would be a great thing for us to accomplish in a bipartisan fashion in 2016.